Maranatha, and welcome to part 11 of Flipping Tables. And this is September the 27th, 2025 by man's calendar. And we are going to get back into this, talking about Netanyahu's speech.
With us is Eli Stevie, whose son Idan was abducted from the Nova Music Festival. That was his crime. A music festival. And these murderous monsters took him. Kobe Smirno, whose son Jonathan was murdered, and his corpse was taken into the dungeons, into the terror tunnels of Gaza. A corpse held hostage. Salim Al-Atrash, whose brother Muhammad, a brave Arab Israeli soldier, was murdered. His body too was taken to Gaza. And so was the body of Ifat Hyman's daughter in Bar, who was brutally murdered at that same music festival. With us is Sharon Sharabi.
Okay. I have to address that, and I know a lot of you are going to get mad about what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. Because I have to, because God has ordered me to do so. We're not to be active participants in worldly things and worldly events like these music festivals. Just for the record, we're not to be active participants in these things. And not that I'm wishing death on anybody. Don't misunderstand me, because I am not. These people went out to be a part of the world, and you're angry at God because He didn't protect them for participating in demonic practice. They were out there worshiping idols. These musicians that they went to support is who they were there to worship and dance and to sing and to hoopla and to party and to carry on traditions of man. And you wonder why God is not supporting you in your idolatries. Hello? You're committing idolatry against God. And then you wonder why you're not being blessed. Now, I've warned you repeatedly to get the idols out of the sanctuaries. A lot of you keep taking on health issues, but you're not listening when you're told to remove the idols from away from the altar. You want to get better? Get the idols out of God's houses. That means the graven images that don't belong there. It's one thing to use one of these phones to be recording the service to share it with the world. It is another to have other graven images around about for idolatry purposes, especially if it's flags containing stars showing the god of Rembrandt. This is what you're worshiping. This is your idol. You have flags to salute your gods. Jesus is not your God so long as you bear these flags. That's what I said. The God of Israel cannot be your God while you brandish Moloch in his face. While you wave your banners and your flags with your stars and your emblems of the Star of Rembrandt. Y'all need to read the Word of God. And you need to stay away from these things that are worldly, these concerts and whatnot. Let us get back into the
whose brother Yossi was murdered,
speech.
and who prays for his older brother Eli, who is still held hostage in Gaza. And with us too is Izhar Lifsich from Kibbutz Nir Oz, a kibbutz that was wiped out by the terrorists. Thankfully, we achieved the release of his mother Yocheved, but his father Oded is still languishing in an underground terrorist hell of Hamas. I again promise you, we will return your loved ones home. We will not spare that effort until this holy mission is accomplished. Ladies and gentlemen, the curse of October 7th began when Hamas invaded Israel from Gaza. But it didn't end there. Israel was soon forced to defend itself on 6 more war fronts organized by Iran. On October 8th, Hezbollah attacked us from Lebanon. Since then, they fired over 8,000 rockets at our towns and cities, at our civilians, at our children. 2 weeks later, the Iran-backed Houthis in Yemen launched drones and missiles at Israel, the first of 250 such attacks, including one yesterday aimed at Tel Aviv. Iran's Shiite militias in Syria and Iraq have targeted Israel dozens of...
Okay, not to interrupt his speech, but I need to point out something. They keep showing those empty seats. And I want you to understand why those seats are empty. When Netanyahu was introduced to come up and speak, the people that were in those seats got up and walked out and refused to listen to his speech. They walked out before he spoke, but they were still walking out on him because they refused to listen because he will not two-state solution Israel.
Times over the past year as well. Fueled by Iran, Palestinian terrorists in Judea and Samaria perpetrated scores of attacks there and throughout Israel. And last April, for the first time ever, Iran directly attacked Israel from its own territory, firing 300 drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles at us. I have a message for the tyrants of Tehran. If you strike us, we will strike you. There is no place. There is no place in Iran that the long arm of Israel cannot reach. And that's true of the entire Middle East. Far from being lambs led to the slaughter, Israel's soldiers have fought back with incredible courage and with heroic sacrifice. And I have another message for this assembly and for the world outside this hall. We are winning. Ladies and gentlemen, as Israel defends itself against Iran in the Seven Front War, the line separating the blessing and the curse could not be more clear. This is the...
Before he gets into this map, I would like to point something out. I want you to listen closely to his speech. Note how he credits the IDF. And we are to give honor to where it is due. That is true. He credits IDF with their victories and everything like that. But he does not credit God for protecting them from further things. Netanyahu, Bibi, I love you, but if you continue to leave God out, whom should take top billing and all credit, his name is Jesus, but I am aware that you all do not call him that. But still, just the same, you should not leave him out of receiving due benevolence. He is most high, and he should receive the highest of honors from all of humanity, not just Israel. Now, with that said, I'm going to get on back into this. Pay attention to the map he's about to show. He's going to make a statement, which I am going to address here shortly.
Map I presented here last year. It's a map of a blessing. It shows Israel and its Arab partners forming a land bridge connecting Asia and Europe between the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea. Across this bridge, we will lay rail lines, energy pipelines, fiber optic cables, and this will serve the betterment of 2 billion people. Now look at this second map. It's a map. Look at the second map. It's a map of a curse. It's a map of an arc of terror that Iran has created and imposed from the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean. Iran's malignant arc has shut down international waterways. It cuts off trade. It destroys millions, destroys nations from within, and inflicts misery on millions. On the one hand, a bright blessing, a future of hope. On the other hand, a dark future of despair. And if you think this dark map is only a curse for Israel, if you think that, then you should think again. Because Iran's aggression, if it's not checked, will endanger every single country in the Middle East and many, many countries in the rest of the world. Because Iran seeks to impose its radicalism well beyond the Middle East. That's why it funds terror networks on 5 continents. That's why it builds ballistic missiles for nuclear warheads to threaten the entire world. For too long, the world has appeased Iran. It turns a blind eye to its internal repression. It turns a blind eye to its external.
Oh, I would like to also point another thing out where he was showing the map of the blessings there, as he called it. Talking about laying the pipelines and the rail systems and all that. They've already begun work on that. They're already doing that. They already have a train, a very speedy train, that they already have. And I think it's operational already. Or will soon be operational. I really don't know because I have not really kept up with the information on that particular thing. But I do know that they had already begun construction on it. And this is all part of the beast system, laying the groundwork to unite all of the Middle East under the Abrahamic Accords. Yes, we're going to get into talk about that. Just so you know, because I was trying not to do any spoilers in part 9 of this particular information because I wanted to wait till I was showing the footage and stuff of this speech to really talk about this. But let's get on into it because we're going to talk about the Abrahamic Accord shortly.
Aggression. Well, that appeasement must end. And that appeasement must end now.
Let this small device sit in.
Turn off the commercials.
Nations of the world should support the brave people of Iran who want to rid themselves of this evil regime. Responsible governments should not only support Israel in rolling back Iran's aggression, they should join Israel. They should join Israel in stopping Iran's nuclear weapons program. In this body, in the Security Council, We're going to have a deliberation in a few months. And I call on the Security Council to snap back UN Security Council sanctions against Iran, because we must all do everything in our power to ensure that Iran never gets nuclear weapons. For decades, I've been warning the world against Iran's nuclear program. Our actions delayed this program by perhaps a decade, but we haven't stopped it. We've delayed it, but we haven't stopped it. Iran now seeks to weaponize its nuclear program for the sake of the peace and security of all your countries. For the sake of the peace and security of the entire world, we must not let that happen. And I assure you, Israel will do everything in its power to make sure it doesn't happen.
No, he said peace and security.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the question before us is simple. Which of these two maps that I showed you will shape our future? Will it be the blessings of peace and prosperity for Israel, our Arab partners, and the rest of the world? Or will it be the curse in which Iran and its proxies spread carnage and chaos everywhere? Israel has already made its choice. We've decided to advance the blessing. We're building a partnership for peace with our Arab neighbors while fighting the forces of terror that threaten that peace. For nearly a year, the brave men and women of the IDF have been systematically crushing Hamas's terror army that once ruled Gaza. On October 7th, the day of that invasion into Israel, that terror army numbered nearly 40,000 terrorists. It was armed with more than 15,000 rockets. It had 350 miles of terror tunnels, an underground network bigger than the New York subway system, which they used to wreak havoc above and below ground. A year later, the IDF has killed or captured more than half of these terrorists, destroyed over 90% of their rocket arsenal, and eliminated the key segments of their terror tunnel network. In major military operations, homeowners everywhere are military operations.
Sorry about the commercials.
In major military operations, we destroyed nearly nearly all of Hamas's terror battalions, 23 out of 24 battalions. Now, to complete our victory, we are focused on mopping up Hamas's remaining fighting capabilities. We are taking out senior terrorist commanders and destroying remaining terrorist infrastructure. But all the while, and I'll say this one more time, we remain focused on our sacred mission, bringing our hostages home. And we will not stop until that mission is complete. Now, ladies and gentlemen, even with Hamas's greatly diminished military capability, the terrorists still exercise some governing power in Gaza by stealing the food that we enable aid agencies to bring into Gaza. Hamas steals the food, and then they hike the prices. They feed their bellies.
This is terrible. Pay attention. Pay attention. This goes on all over the world, though, with hiking prices.
And then they fill their coffers with money that they extort from their own people. They sell the stolen food at exorbitant prices. And that's how they stay in power. Well, this too has to end, and we're working to bring it to an end. And the reason is simple. Because if Hamas stays in power, it will regroup, rearm, and attack Israel again and again and again, as it is vowed to do. So Hamas has got to go. Just imagine, for those who say, well, Hamas has to stay, it has to be part of a post-war Gaza, imagine in a post-war situation in World War II. Imagine allowing the defeated Nazis in 1945 to rebuild.
Hold that thought. We're going into the next part because I want to make sure that this next section stays together. See you in the next part.